Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And I am on a path right now that is a downhill that I don't normally take, and I am really hoping that it doesn't end up being a dead end, because that means I'm going to have to climb back up that, and I'm not looking forward to it. I guess I could always, go down there potentially. But it seems like civilization is that way. So, actually, what am I saying? That is the perfect direction then, away from civilization. I'll check up here first. Maybe I'll investigate down here some other time. A different week, because also I have to make sure I trace my way back some of the time. This week is one of the weeks that that I didn't have any afternoon classes. In fact, actually, I'm recording this thinking before midday, so I literally don't have afternoon classes this time, not even like the arbitrary midday that they normally have. There's a couple reasons for that. One, because I'm back to the rotation of the first teacher, who used to be the coordinator of the, language assistants like myself, and because of that, she knows the procedure of, okay, well, you try to, we'll try to schedule you in for just the mornings, to be kinder on me, basically. The other teachers, in all fairness, they only had like a certain assigned English classes they could do, so there wasn't much I could do about that. And of course, with the welding students, that's another matter altogether. I just found out from the welding teacher today that that the plan going forward for them is, after the Christmas rush, he will finally be able to teach them that grammar lesson because they won't have a huge deadline looming for their project, which makes sense. And what else was I going to say? That would end sometime in March, when the company ends up recruiting them or whatever, or potentially, I guess they I don't know, some of them might go off to Finland, other places that's recruiting, and that's why they're learning English, because it seems to be an international community that will be able to help them out that way. Okay, so as it turns out, yes, I do very much recognize this path, I believe. Which means that I shall now take the other, because I want to explore. I might as well. I was potentially going to do this Walking Wednesday in Madrid if things had gone differently, but I will now explain why that was not the case. So basically, not only have I finished early for today because the teacher had a flight to catch, the English one, so she requested to have those lessons off anyway. So I wasn't going to be, alone, because again, not allowed to, legally speaking. So not only am I done today, but I'm also done for the week, because tomorrow being Halloween is, it's a festive time and whatever. So it seems like everyone has the day off, I guess nationally speaking. Which means it's going to be a huge traffic rush, but my plan was, because ultimately it is the best chance, to make the most of, travels and whatnot, that I would use the time to go to Madrid to visit, the usual crowd that I know and that you lots don't, because they're camera shy. I'll never forget the fact that one time when I was filming the Eiffel Tower special of the Walking Wednesday, if you look up Eiffel Tower special, you know what I mean. Like, while that was happening, an Instagram influencer came up to them and did a magic act for them, and that's on that page, and I narrowly missed that. So that was interesting. But yeah, basically that was the idea. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, I could even head down today potentially to get ahead of the traffic. As it turns out, probably not going to happen, partly because I wasn't able to organize it. So because this is my first week with the repeat teacher, I didn't think that I would have a chance to do like my introduction thing again, so I would have to prepare new material. And like I mentioned briefly last week, that same teacher gave me not only the books that are for these specific year groups, like the actual curricula that I have not had access to for almost a month, so I've been improvising the whole time, but also gave me a specific request for something. So could I prepare an activity for the younger students who were learning about buildings and transport? Now, stars align, because as it turns out, I had an idea 2 years ago for Monet's class, actually. If you didn't know, Monet is a teacher and teaches younger students, but also, again, they were learning the same things. And I had the idea of this team that they would have to progress through, go from one location to another, trying to hunt down a criminal that was trying to do, insert evil plan. I didn't have a super concrete goal or whatever. So, in combination with the buildings, because that was not part of it originally, I fused the concepts of going from one place to another, and then decide. But the original plan was, okay, what they're going to do? They're going to travel by, I don't know, like boat, train, or car, and only one option would work. So the idea behind that is that the team members would have. It was going to be 4 lives, but it became 3 at the end. I know that some of the kids at this school that I'm not filming are in their Halloween costumes, the younger ones. Again, I never actually got a Halloween costume this year. I'll have to become myself in gacha form again. What was I saying? I heard someone say intruder. Someone's, I don't know. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So, basically, yeah, so the idea was that, yeah, so as the team members, if you get an answer wrong, then you lose a life. And you have to get towards the end with, at least 1 life as per, video games. And that way you could demonstrate your knowledge of transportation, and now also buildings. And so that is what transport team became. Now, I wasn't sure how to make this. Okay, I know where I am now. I think this was dog territory, so beware of random barking. Like how that fence says direct alarm. It's like, I know you've got an alarm. It's very effective and barks at you whenever you're close, or at least expecting it. Anyway, because I remembered how like in space with Markiplier, for example, worked. You had like the different options that you could do, and it was like an interactive game using YouTube end screens. That was my goal. And over the weekend, I was preparing the script for this, and to just what would actually happen. Try to format it correctly in like a presentation form. So I had a prototype ready to go for the lessons on Monday, or my 1 lesson on Monday, because most of the other ones were later on. So what happens is that I got there, and right it was like the second hour, so the teacher was already inside the classroom. So, but then the second that she sees me, because she's emerging, and says to me, "You don't have class here today. There's an activity in the library." It's like, oh, is there? Okay, great. I'm very glad about this. I definitely didn't, stay up for multiple nights making sure this would actually work correctly. No, of course not. But actually, yeah. So she said, "Well, if you would like to go to the event in the library, to actually see what that's about, then go ahead. We will go downstairs and we will wait for you." So I'm still thinking that there was like a special class or something like that they were going to do. So yeah, I went down and waited, and there was a man there with an instrument that I think was called like thafora or something. Like they specifically was like, "Oh, you're supposed to be here, doing the Regeifas thing." I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Wait a minute, what on earth is going on? Is there a musical event in the library?" I would find that weird if it weren't for the fact that the week before there was a tambourine rehearsal in that very same library. So having a musical event in a place of silence is not uncommon for this school, apparently. But what was uncommon was the fact that I thought, okay, well, why did teacher number one send me down here if there's meant to be a musical event? It turns out that the event in question was the Regeifas thing, and it was part of the. I spoke to the man afterwards, and he explained that it was part of their formación galega, so Galician formation. Because also, I don't know how common knowledge it is. I've talked about it a couple of times in like some weird advertising things, but Galicia, apart from speaking what we know as Spanish, so Castilian Spanish, Castellano, they also have their own, Galician Spanish, Gallego, or Galego, if you say it in Gallego itself. So that's of course, it's I think only like Galicia has a population of like 2 million or something. So as a language, with increased globalization and whatnot, it's sort of becoming lost. I remember that a couple of years ago we watched Live is Life in Carnota, and it was clear that I think actually the main character lived in Madrid, but he went every year to Galicia to see his grandparents, and it was interesting how they spoke in Castellano to his parents, and also to his like friends inside of in Galicia itself. But whenever the grandparents had a line, which was very rarely, but the grandparents had some lines, and they would all be in Gallego. And the conversation would happen that way, and there would also be subtitles. Not only that, and this movie was set in the 80s, so you can imagine, 40 years down the line, more or less, that it's still the case. And you see in some like buildings or such, you see a sign that says "Aquí también se fala Galego," which means here we speak Galician too, just to try and make sure that language doesn't become lost to time, basically. So that's why it's honestly it's probably more important for them to have those Galician classes than it is the English ones. So I'm not mad or anything. It's just the fact that the timing was less than ideal. That was the problem. So oh my goodness. But yeah, the actual event itself. Well, I haven't said what a Regeifas actually is yet. So, you know, my new obsession as of this week, because like immediately to introduce himself, he actually started to do some improvised singing. You know, with you know, meter and rhyme scheme and everything. Now, you lot have known me for long enough to know that if there's one thing that will instantly get me to be like, I'm listening, it's improvised singing and with a rhyme scheme and everything. Like that is just, you know, instant victory, I guess. So because of that, you know, there I am. And bear in mind, I can understand Gallego. It's kind of like, you know, well, like Italian and Portuguese, but even more so. With Italian and Portuguese, I get like most of the conversation. With Gallego, I get nearly everything. Like there might be like a couple of words here or there that I'm not familiar with, but whatever. It's you know, you fill in the blanks at that point. So I can understand people, I just can't reply. So basically, so while I was there, so he improvises the songs in Gallego. He explains how Regeifas work. Apparently, a Regeifa is a type of the improvised song. Normally, what he did there was taking not a Regeifa because it's meant to be between two different people. And they're supposed to be like in a little bit of a face-off, but it's more of a collaboration. But it's framed like a face-off because you're supposed to, you know, create like a couplet, then respond to somebody else. I guess if you think about it, it's somewhat like a primitive version of a rap battle, without the real battle part, and also with a more defined structure. There are like different rhythms you can use, but apparently, you know, it has to be rhyming couplets. There are specific rhyme schemes you use, and the lines have to be 8 syllables long. Those are the rules. You know, from there you can go into different things. I think one of the rhythms that he used was like the da 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 da, something like that. And going into like the history of Regeifas, you know, it started in Andalusia or something like that. It went around the East Coast. That street was very dangerous, and I dread it the most. With like actual 8 syllables, that's not proper. Anyway, but then when we actually went to the different version, apparently there's one that gets taught a lot, which was dee do 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 da do dee 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 do da do. So after explaining how Regeifas work, he got the students in the library to come up with ideas for their own. So first of all, they started off with a suggestion of 2 words that would rhyme, so they create their own couplet. Then afterwards, trying to make a phrase from that was you know, 8 syllables long, and then finish off the one with the first rhyming word, and then do the same again. That was the idea. Now, of course, as somebody who had spent the past 4 weeks teaching people how to either write their own scripts or songs in class, this piqued my interest a lot. And yeah, it was complicated for them still, because I guess, yeah, there was a lot of, they had to learn all of the different rules immediately. Like, for example, like one person just randomly said Subaroski, for example, as a suggestion for a line, an entire line, Subaroski, which turns out is actually a mispronunciation of Swarovski, which is the name of a shop. So of course the guy shuts this down, and he goes, you know, what are you talking about, Subaroski? How do we use that in a Regeifas? That's not going to work. To which I got to thinking, yes, it can, because just remember my method, because I've seen in like my classes where sometimes the teacher gets a little bit too involved and tries to like censor different things. Like, for example, if there's too much like violence in a particular song, then it gets trimmed down. If there's a lot of I mean, violence is the main point, honestly. But yeah, we sorry, I'm just gonna move over. And also, of course, sometimes because of the way that, you know, modern lyrics are, they're things that were a bit inappropriate for their age range, and that I can understand. But also, ultimately, you know, ultimately, I try, at least for me, to because since I'm getting them to think for themselves, I want to shut down their ideas. I don't want to like, you know, I don't want to suppress that. That's way too fast. That's definitely not 30 kilometers an hour. Anyway, I don't want to like suppress their creativity. So at this point, I start to I start to have like a conflict within myself. Teacher number one is one of the teachers who likes to pretend that I don't speak Spanish, and has gaslit all of the classes into believing that's the case. Now, of course, I said from day one that there would be times where I would unintentionally give myself away. Like, for example, if I'm talking to another teacher and someone happens to hear me or something, or there's an activity or question that I can only answer, you know, with knowledge of Spanish, and we're kind of like in a deadlock. There are other examples, but I'll get to them later. Ultimately, she said, you know, try your best to keep up the illusion, but yeah, I did warn her, and this is one of the times where I had that debate in my head, because on one hand, I could fix the line. I could fix the line and say, and add some syllables to it and keep Subaroski, so that the student feels like, okay, you know, my crazy idea it's insane but validated. Here's the thing, because obviously with child imaginations, like, yeah, there's some elements where, you know, it goes on devoid of logic. I mean, Gacha Review is an example of that, where, you know, when it comes together as a story, it makes almost no sense. But I try to not come after like the specific ideas or story premises, especially unless they've been, you know, done to death, for example. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, as you get older, and I've noticed that in my creative writing classes, because remember, in university, I mentioned this, you know, back in the day, that that most of the class, like, they had like very specific, you know, like very mental health related, like inner turmoils in their characters. I mean, I don't know about in real life. I don't want to speculate. Or there would be, you know, very grounded, realistic settings, which really worked because the tutor in question liked, you know, BBC dramas, and that's kind of what they're into right now. So there's that. But and I was the only person who decided, oh, you know, I'm gonna do something that's for, like, you know, an animated project, and I'm going to talk about werewolves and you know, like a whole, like, you know, different setting, sports camps and etc. And, you know, the weird like few like near future advancements and blah blah blah, you know, mutations, things like that, because I've intentionally done my best to be like, okay, well, I mean, I'm going to ground my stuff to an extent so it's relatable, but I don't want to if I have an insane idea, I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's too much, that's too crazy. It's kind of like whenever I go to the whenever we go to the cinema for, you know, like in Carnota, and there's only like 4 different movies to choose from, so we end up choosing, you know, like the action blockbusters or you know, like any animated movie that's there, because obviously we have a certain amount of weeks, and it gets to the point where well, at the end, of course, whenever like my parents, for example, express an opinion, they always say, oh, you know, this is all very crazy. You know, it's obviously very crazy. It's like, I mean, yes, it's part of the fun. Crazy, but we like it, as Shakira once said. Was in the translated version. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So that to me, because that's like one of my like huge core beliefs. On top of the fact that I don't like to pretend that I'm not bilingual in general, because ultimately it's something that I developed over time as part of my actual growth as a person, and, you know, my experience with like this particular culture that I now have to pretend that I don't identify with. So because of those two things, but also that I was because of those two things, I was battling to myself like, oh wait, you know, like the teacher one is in the room right now, as is one of her classes and some of the other classes that I didn't have that day. They were probably learning other stuff. But on the other hand, I had a kid who was brave enough to go first and offer an example, and had that example immediately torn down. And I was like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And eventually, what I did was I gave in. I couldn't not do anything. So I then, because no one else put their hand up, I offered a suggestion, and my suggestion was al comprar en Subarovsky, because Subarovsky has 4 syllables. Al comprar en, while buying in, also has 4 syllables, so we've got 8. So, you know, al comprar en Subarovsky. I even demonstrated just in case, because I've had that issue in the past where I suggest like a line that makes perfect sense in like the syllables, and the director will try and change it. I had that in drama school when we were like changing. We were making parodies. We were making a parody, actually. Well, sort of. It was only one line that got changed. I think I've told the story before, but it was when we were doing I Predict a Riot inside of. So I'm just trying to. I'm trying to decide which way to walk at the moment, because I'm at a crossroads. That's uphill. That's downhill, but I've been that direction, so I'm going to go down here, which has more cars. Anyway, so the story goes, if you haven't heard I Predict a Riot, the original song is, oh, watching the people get leery, not very pretty, I tell thee. Walking through town is quite scary. It's not very sensible either. A friend of a friend, he got beaten. He looked the wrong way at a policeman. Would never have happened to Smeaton, the old Lebanesian. Then etc, etc. But that Smeaton part, because we were doing a version of the crocodile, which the main character is called Ivan, or I guess even if you change it a bit, the director said, whatever would never have happened to even, and then wanted to try and make a different version because it's not an old Lebanesian. So what is he? What happens? Well, he ends up being partially devoured by a crocodile and becomes like a huge sensation. So because of that, it was like, okay, even eaten. So I suggested the line, he went and got eaten, you know. The old Lebanesian, he went and got eaten. Da 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 da. So you have that. But then the director, you know, models this over and starts to go like, he went and got himself eaten, or something like that. It's like, that's not what I said. like, I'm fine with, you know, adding extra syllables, but that's going to make everyone confused. It's like, that's not what I said. You know, he went and got eaten, that's the exact number of syllables. So I had to, like, fight for that. It's like, no, this is how it's, this is this. It's like, I mean, you know, if I, like, I don't get everything right with songwriting, but, you know, I have experience. So, yeah, so I had something in my shoe. And it's still there. It didn't come out. This is cool. Yeah, I might have to actually turn around at some point because I'm going down the extreme downhill, and eventually, not yet, but we'll find out. For a main road, this is actually, you know, relatively quiet. There's a car coming now. Like I said that because I jinxed myself, but yeah, it's not too bad. I'll get to the end, I'll turn around, then I'll go down this path here. Okay, so back to this example. So yeah, I knew I had the right amount of syllables because, again, I can count syllables naturally, just by my own nature, at this point. Well, not by my own nature, I guess nurture. You know, I practiced it, obviously. So that line gets used, but of course I said that in Castellano, so he changed it to Gallego, and that's like, the thing with me is like, okay, we need to, like, we want this to be in Gallego. At this point, I didn't know. I hadn't talked to him yet because I told him at the end. I didn't know it was part of the Formación Galega, so that they were doing. So I didn't know that was part of, like, the whole intent. So, but fortunately for me and for the kid from earlier, he accepted that that suggestion, but he changed it to, you know, ao mercar en Subaroski, which, you know, is the Gallego version. Ao mercar en Subaroski. Like I said, it's very, like, Gallego is very easy when you know Castellano already. Then we carried on. We had, like, camión, truck, and avión for the rhyme. So it became, got run over by a truck. Atropellé un camión. Then eventually, oh camión era muy longo. The truck was very long, and tal como un avión, just like a plane. And that took a while. That took until the end of the session. But eventually people got that, and then they, like, improvised their own couplets. But at this point I stopped talking. I didn't want to offer more suggestions. There was other people who did that. Because I remember as well, when I was like 11 or 10, I think I was 10 actually, during Chopin week at my first drama school, my first drama club, I mean. Not like an official drama school, it was a drama club. At my first drama club, a new path. We had Chopin week, and this was before I started writing songs, but I guess it was the clue that should have given away that I was into this idea. So we were creating. Okay, someone's working on here. I'm not gonna go there. Private property, it says. It was about the story of Chopin as we had just been told it, and it had to be to the tune of one of his songs, like da 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 da. Da, 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 da. That one. I don't know what this is, like Nocturne in C major or something. I don't know. So, and it turned out, yeah, that because again no one offered suggestions apart from me, I ended up coming up with like most of the song actually, and I still remember it too. Chopin era un niño hace 200 años, le gustaba la música y se hizo compositor. There was more than that, but I'm rambling on and I haven't gone past Monday yet. But basically, over the years I've learned to be like, I'll just like, because it wasn't for me, it was for them. So there were two groups that finished the couplet very, very quickly. They were too embarrassed to sing it. The guy said, "Oh no, you shouldn't be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed, all the other people, because they didn't finish. They haven't done one yet." Like I said before, Regeifas are meant to be like improvisations, so you're supposed to be able to improvise them and come up with them on the spot. if you know what you're doing, of course. But yeah, for now, just to transition over. Okay, so yeah, but yeah, so then after that, they finished, because there was no more time after that to invent a response. That was the idea behind that, or I guess to have everyone share different things. In my experience, no one wants to share. They're all too shy to share their songs or their scripts. I could not warn the man of this eventuality because of course I was trying not to talk. Because again, I can't speak Gallego. I can just understand it for now. Again, one of my goals here is to eventually sign up for like classes or something so I can learn how to do it. As it turns out, fate was on my side in that regard, because if we go to Tuesday, where I actually was able to update the game, and that's the version that you saw on YouTube, if you saw on there, Transport Team 0.2, and that one's the functional one with the end screens and everything. Another late night, but it was worth it because I was able to debut that version that was a lot better. And that class, well, there were 4 classes, and they're all that particular age where, of course, I think this was the COVID generation that had like the issues with attention span and whatnot. However, for a lot of them, as soon as they were encouraged to retain all the like details that would lead them to the actual proper answer, they were able to play the game properly. I remember that specifically that like the afternoon classes that weren't like super tired, like every time they got an answer correct and they actually didn't lose a life, there was one like yeah, and they started like pounding the tables and everything. It was a huge thing. The teacher had to like calm them down. It was like, wow, I'm very relieved right now that they actually like this. This is good. This is good. I can work with this. So yeah, they liked my game. But of course, because of that, because I had to, project over them or whatever, or repeat the same things as long sentences and whatnot, I end up with a little bit of a dry voice, which is not normally an issue. Usually I can be like, okay, that's fine. I'll roll with the punches, so to speak. There's a green arrow that tells me to go this direction. I'm gonna do it. But that particular day, I had overheard a conversation before my last lesson from one of the teachers, where she was talking to somebody else, another teacher, saying like, "Oh, so are you going to just sing at break time? I tend to do that, or that's my eventuality." I found out this was like the choir director, so I don't know why she was explaining as if this was like a new thing. I wasn't eavesdropping, it's just because no one else was talking, I heard it. So I asked the same teacher afterwards, what did we say about singing during break time? And because I wasn't sure if this was, I knew there was like, music clubs and, a choir and such, but my assumption was that it was, student only, of course. So I never investigated. But if one of the other teachers was doing it, I was like, okay, well, I will check it out. Turns out that this choir is still split, not teachers and students. It's split between like the different sections, but not at the same time. So in most choirs that I've been in before, they like everyone rehearses at the same time. I guess because we only have half an hour, it was decided to do them separately, and I guess they will combine sometime later. I say that sometimes it's like at 3 or whatever, so I might have to I don't know, return some other day. It's usually Thursdays. But I went to see the guy, and because again I have a super dry voice, it's like, "Hi, can I join the choir?" Something like that. He's like, we're doing soprano ones today. so you might want to come back on Friday because we're doing the baritones. I said, well, I mean, I don't work on Fridays, so ideally not. But then so then he so then I explained that actually what I used to do in choirs was I would join the soprano section because I don't, people have heard in some like small bursts my actual falsetto or just my general higher voice range in the first place. I think like recently I did like a Nathaniel song that was partially falsetto as a result of that. But yeah, for the most part I don't get a chance to use it because A, it can't be captured by most microphones, and B, like it's one of like the least it's one of the most disturbing rehearsal sounds if I'm just doing it in a place that's not soundproof, even by like my standards. Because in order to like get certain notes, I have to like project. In fact, the guy tested my vocal range today, but we'll get back to that. So yeah, and like it had been some time, and I remember that even Matt had at one point mentioned that he missed when he was able to use like his high voice a lot more than when he did like a particular like bendy cover or something, I think it was at the time. Because like there's something that you can lose over time. So I'm glad for any excuse really, and also just to prove that I can. So because of that, every time that I'm able to, because I remember the first time I signed to a choir, the teacher was like, "No, you'll damage your voice. I won't allow it. You must be in it must be in the tenor section." I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll go. I'll be a tenor. Why not?" But it was like, it was okay. I wasn't happy, very sad, as Tom Scar said once. But yeah, every choir after that, I was allowed to join. In fact, some people who knew or saw like my reaction whenever there was hesitation from the directors to let me in, or not to let me in, but to let me in the section. They just like tooth and nail, like yelled at the substitute one time, being like, "What? Like, are you in the right section?" It's like, "Yes." It's like, "Yes, he is. Let him stay there." It's like, guys, thanks, but this is a new person. They don't know yet. The last choir I was in, actually, I got to do a solo. That's more downhill. Do I want to? 50 kilometers an hour. That's significant. Okay, I'll be careful. So yeah. There's a bridging coming too. What was I saying? So yeah, in this one, again, I'm not usually a nervous person, but I was somewhat nervous trying to explain to the guy, like what that was like, because like every time it's like the one constant rejection that I get that actually like affects me properly. So yeah, but he said like, okay, well I'll stay, because it turns out that he also, in order to like match the octaves of the sopranos, also uses falsetto, which is not entirely usual, because actually one of the first choir director let me sing in the soprano section. He actually was a natural alto, even though it was a man, AMAB, but yeah, couldn't actually reach soprano really well, so we just went by the piano and had to change the octave for ourselves, which was fine. I say it was fine. Most people like to use the same like 3 odd people in order to guide them. One of them being me, so I had to know what I was doing. But yeah, like that was something I could come back to. But yeah, like I thought, okay, well, fine. This is someone who who knows what that's like, and you know, who's not going to be like, oh, well, that's impossible, it's a bad idea, or blah blah blah. In fact, as it turns out, he ended up. I just realized I think I found another entrance to a park just now, just further down there. I'm gonna go this path instead. I think it's like an alternative exit. Anyway, so basically, like this guy actually ended up being like really impressed by my voice, because yeah, like I mean, ultimately when you hear like a lot of you know, AMABs doing falsetto, it's not it's usually quite you know, strained or suppressed or whatever. But actually when I do it properly, like then and I'm able to like project in it and actually be picked up by microphones or whatever, then yeah, it's very pronounced. And I'm glad. I was relieved, because I was really worried, having not practiced for so long, that it was going to end up being a disaster, along with the fact that I had just been like, you know, I did like 4 lessons of this one game. I had to host for those classes, having to project over them and having my voice be super dry, and I chose to drink of water. I didn't want to be the only one drinking water. It was like, yeah, there's a lot going on. So I was very relieved about that. And yeah, he seemed like very enthusiastic to keep like talking to me. You know, it's like, oh yeah, well, you know, this is this thing. I mean, you can try like coming to join to the tenors tomorrow to see what happens. Like this time I was invited, not forced, so I actually said yes. I went back to the tenors today, and yeah, it turns out there are only there are only 2 there. That's one thing that I felt bad for with tenors in other choirs, actually, is that there were usually so few of them, because the few like boys that would really want to be part of choirs, most of the time, yeah, it's best like in, you know, secondary school, 6th form, they were just going through puberty, so they were either like baritones or basses, because they hadn't learned to project in that yet. Watch any of my videos from 2015 to know what I'm talking about, any of my songs from back in the day. Osborne, and although, yes, and the wall of this time he was longing for everyone's peace, he managed to leave all his friends just a tad more at ease. Yeah. It wasn't even like that. That's even more about protection. It's like, he managed to keep all his friends just a tad more at ease. Like, that's all I could do when I was 15. So I get it. I understand. I remember the day that I discovered that I could still do that. It was during like the junior induction course at the National Youth Theatre. And we just did like a thing where we sang like, come along, my friend, come along, get aboard and ride this train. Nothing on this train to lose, everything to gain. Come along, my friend, come along. And then like kept on going up. And so you just said like, okay, try like as far as you can. Go as far as you can. And then, so of course I went to like my, up until that point, untapped falsetto pretty much. And then realized like, oh, wait a minute, I can actually keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And I ended up being one of the 2 highest singers that were in that particular section. So because of that, not only was I put in with the sopranos, I was also put as like the extra the extra high harmony as a result. So yeah, that was a revelation for me, and again, proof that I could do this. And that was why, you know, the guy, after we finished, tested my voice, and he tested like my low range first, and then he went like, okay, we'll see like how you can go. And that's why I started like to project, because I had to reach those certain points that, again, I hadn't actually gone up to in years. At some point, I remember the last time I got my vocal range tested, and I went like as high as I could, and then I almost never got a chance to even attempt that ever again. Even the solo I got in the choir that I was in next time wasn't like as pronounced as that. So yeah, I seem to have found an interesting formation. That's Portugal over there, by the way. I see there's another bridge nearby. I want to explore that. But yeah, so yeah, but I do feel bad for the tenors all the time because, like I was saying before, the tenors are usually few and far between, and sometimes have. I think we had like one girl who was like had like lower range for girls. I was like, oh well, I mean, I'm stuck here basically. Even though the tenors in that particular choir had like the best harmonies, if I say so, I was like, oh, that sounds really good, but I resisted because I was holding my ground. I wasn't being challenged at that point. I was just whatever. Remember that one time we did a Christmas performance and one of the parents asked me afterwards, is it awkward for you being like the only guy in the soprano section? Is that awkward for your voice? It's like, oh no, I chose to be here. Like, yeah. and it was great. Of course, I formed some good friendships with some of the other fellow sopranos, and that's usually what ended up happening. Or happened to encourage them if they were feeling unconfident, because if I could do it, so could they. Basically, that was the idea. But yeah, so now I guess I have that decision of like, well, I mean, I'm probably going to stay with the sopranos ultimately, but it was interesting to come with that experience. Not only that, but also the choir director invited me to check out his amateur choir, which rehearses from 9 until 11 on... Oh, there's the bridge. Oh, it's up there. Ah, okay. I'm going to have to scale that somehow. We'll see. Yeah, like I was saying, bridge. That looks like a train bridge as well. Maybe not the best idea. Anywho, but yeah, so he said that there's their choir. They do first at 9 to 11 on Thursdays, and now 9 to 11 on Thursdays is usually when we used to start the Star Kid streams, and obviously before that's like 9ish or even as far as 7 is our usual D&D time. Now I will say as well, I haven't gone into detail about this, but other things that happened this week were that delayed me making the game. Actually, over the weekend was that we had to deal with some more issues behind the scenes with Quest of the Breathing Moon. I'm not sure if the official announcement has been made about the eventual fate of Breathing Moon, but it's not looking good. So, because of a variety of other behind-the-scenes things that have come up, that came up recently, including like miscommunication, which led to someone feeling uncomfortable with another person in the group until that person was able to clarify stuff. The matter was resolved privately at first until eventually one of the admins got involved. Well, the server admins, I mean. And when hearing someone venting about the issue, despite it being solved, decided to shadow ban the person without even again, shadow banning is without discussing anything. It was just like, okay, yep, done. Again, it seemed like a perceived threat. But I will say the perceived threat was somebody making jokes that were not deemed they were deemed uncomfortable. Not like there was going to be any violent retaliation or anything, even if that hadn't been resolved privately. And that is a train track. So yes, this is indeed a railway. So I can't cross that, I don't think. Let me see. Yeah, no, I'm not going on there. Okay, back down we go. I have so many things in my shoes right now. I need to clear this out. Yeah, so because of that also, the person who got notified, that wasn't even me, because I was not the project lead. That distinct honor went to Ghosty, our DM. She's not the responsible person, but of course, ultimately, this was not her project. And yeah, despite you know, the person knowing about her health issues and stress, at 1 a.m. came to her with that. She wasn't able to sleep properly. Eventually, this discouraged her from continuing as a DM, like, at all, let alone for our campaign, which again seems to just with the certain people being involved, seems to constantly just invite further and further issues, to the point where, you know, we ourselves are in a bit of a awkward situation. We don't have an official project lead right now, but I've offered myself at this point because I'm the best at conflict resolution in the group. So yeah, that's my idea for now. But I would like to give people another actual chance, and I will pose that question in the server at some point now that a few days have passed. We obviously need like a new DM anyway. There's not one of us. But there's obviously a prevailing idea of like, oh well, you know, let's cancel this project and do something else. The reason I don't think we should cancel a project and do something else is because A, if nothing else, we're all invested in the story, and B, if we just involve the same people again without finding a way behind like these issues and such, it's going to cause the same problems. Because I will maintain that in front of the cameras, Quest of the Breathing Moon, Quest Ice and Sun in general, was going better than ever. Everyone agreed that the last 3 episodes, you know, for the Breathing Moon saga specifically, are some of the best that, or like are the best that we've actually ever done. So because of that, that's why I was like, oh well, you know, we don't want this to end now, because we've got to a point where, like, again, we're building off of like more and more things every single time. We actually finally have the role play centric story that we were, you know, so craving towards the beginning of this project. And I feel like if we try to even if we try to restart that now, having to go through the same thing again, it won't be the same. There's no spontaneity there. There's no good like evolution. So because of that, that's why I at least, because, you know, it's been argued that, oh well, should we even like take down those videos? Well, first of all, the videos themselves, there's nothing wrong with them, but it kind of reminds me of a situation where I had like a falling out with 2 of the original VAs in the Mutant Girl. They know who they are specifically, and sometime like way later down the line, one of them asked me on behalf of the other if I could remove the videos that featured their voices. Now, if it came down to it, I was like, well, I mean, I guess whatever. Technically speaking, I have the I have the publication rights, obviously, because there was no contracts or anything, so it's not like I was like required to listen. But I obviously, like, out of the goodness of my heart, I was like, okay, fine. However, I came with a compromise, because of course the Mutant Girl is extremely important to me, and I didn't want to, you know, first of all lose the record of longest running gacha series, but also have to leave the story, you know, partially, like, you know, missing the beginning before being able to recover this. This was before I had like a bunch of, or maybe even any, apart from like one of the remakes. So yeah, I was apprehensive, let's say. So basically, I did what I thought was reasonable. I negotiated. And I negotiated that that their names would be cut from the descriptions of the videos. Can't do that from the original edit because that's obviously predetermined. I could have blurred them out, but they never said that was necessary. And also I removed all of the bloopers because I didn't care about those. Like, okay, fine, I'll take the bloopers out that you featured in. And I believe I also took down one of the gacha reviews that they were a part of. I might have done that, but yeah, very few times when I deleted private videos, that was one of them. And ultimately, that seemed like an actual compromise. So I said the same thing this time. Out of respecting the perspective of the people that wanted this to the series to be taken down. But I said, like, oh well, can we at least leave up a highlight reel so that A, we can actually continue continuity-wise from here and not have to start all over again. And B, actually preserve the precious memories and clips that not only we but the audience enjoyed seeing. And it seemed like that went down well. I mean, I haven't received any confirmation otherwise that that was uncomfortable for anyone. It's like, again, I get it, and ultimately if someone's like, oh well, this is too much, then so be it. It's not even my show. That was just my suggestion for how to make everyone as happy as possible. That's what I try and do. I try to make a practical solution. That's why I want to be the project lead now of this, because first of all, everyone comes to me anyway for the most part, because I'm more level-headed and quite frankly mature. But also I'm able to communicate with everyone and try to find a diplomatic solution. So that's ultimately my idea behind that. So yeah, who knows? I'll start with some Rising Sun clips once I get a moment where I'm not designing games that I can actually edit with. That'd be nice. Although, who knows, while I'm in Madrid. I don't know when that will start. I have all the videos saved anyway, so whatever. It also helped promote the series, As for, the campaign setting or whatever, that's a different story. I don't know what we're going to do there, because I have to talk to Ghosty particularly, actually, about how that setting's going to go. All this stuff was removed from the server, probably to deprive the admin of being able to use that in the future. But we'll probably be fine if user requested. So I'm not sure. And again, I guess if whoever takes charge of that will have to know the spoilers going in. The barrier of communication between reviewing the story elements and actually communicating with the group is something that we have struggled with as well. So that's something to ultimately crack down on. And we need someone who can we can trust to not metagame, which as the person who champions dramatic irony, I think I also qualify for that. So I'm officially running for project lead. I'm running for president of Quest of the Rising Sun. I don't know. But again, I will talk about that because I want someone else to someone to have the chances, because not everyone was there. Emily particularly was away for all this time. So she just heard, oh, we have managerial changes now, and stuff fell apart after the fact. Yeah, we shall see. So that's all up in the air right now. But yeah, that's that. If I take over that, I definitely can't say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to do Thursdays anymore because I'll be singing in a choir. So the choir that I got invited to, the amateur choir that the director of this was is a casual member of. They're meeting today at I'll get a phone call from him later apparently so someone's gonna come and collect me and take me to the neighboring city. But yeah, it's one of those things where they normally rehearse on Thursdays, and I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to commit to something else now, because, you know, quite frankly, as much as I want to, you know, participate in stuff, you know, have like an outreach of some kind, I don't want it to come at the expense of something that, you know, again, we've invested months into actually trying to make work and get right. Because, you know, we are ultimately at our core, you know, a bunch of friends, nerdy in their own ways, trying to tell a story, and that's the prevailing thing. But yeah, this is my longest walking Wednesday in a long time, actually, because, like I said before, never a boring week. I love how, even though this week has been the shortest, like school round wise so far, still so much happened. I said before and I'll say it again, there is never a boring week in this place. And apparently now the walking Wednesdays have got more interesting because of that. So I'm hoping that this is also one of the other ones, and that you enjoyed my stories of both this week and the distant past, and that if you're invested in Quest of the Rising Sun, then you're not thinking that the future is in fact too bleak. Because, again, I want to find a solution that makes everyone as happy as possible. Don't know what that will look like yet, but we shall see. If I get the job, of course. So please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. And subscribe if you haven't done this already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.